Yeah, that's what's nice too.
Wait, how do I do that? Oh yeah, live chat. There we go.
Wait, we got something. How about now? It's in sign language. This is the bunt. Bunt. Yeah. Steal, hit and run.
We're here. The sound is here.
Wait, we got something.
All right. Let me know. Okay, yeah. Everyone's like, yeah, it works.
How about now?
All right.
This isn't blocking anything, is it?
No.
Yeah, the audio sounds fine too.
Yeah, it looks fine. Yeah, the laptop's not even there. Cool.
Yeah.
Looks comfortable down there.
I was gonna say it was actually a lot more comfortable down there than on the couch.
That's actually where I always eat my dinner.
Stayed.
That might sound so sad, but I always eat in that little corner.
I would do everything in that corner.
Right? I swear I do. All right, I'm gonna turn the sound off of this so we don't have like some repeating noises here. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. So if you guys do not know, this over here is Keith. He's known on YouTube as Man of Letters, so definitely go check him out. His channel is really, really cool. He talks about tons of different metaphysical things. Definitely go check him out. He recently did a pick a card, and I know you guys on the channel love pick a cards, so definitely go watch his pick a card. It's really cool.
I think it's might be the first pick a card. Now that I think about it.
Is it the first pick a card?
It might be. I think so. I think so.
And it's a really juicy topic too. I saw it this morning. What was that topic?
Each card. So the X comes back during retrograde, but the card was for why they're coming back. So
So why your X is coming back in this Mercury retrograde?
Yeah, it came out, and it came out a lot better than I thought it would. So definitely go check it out.
I'm definitely gonna be watching it soon. So today we're gonna be talking about some alchemy, stuff like that. You guys know I'm like really into philosophies and stuff like that, and so is Keith, and he knows quite a bit about it. So we're gonna get into it. We have the Kabbalion book over here because, I mean, if you guys haven't checked it out, it's an awesome book. So what is the first principle in alchemy?
The first principle is mentalism. And the idea is, as you guys know, all things come from mind. But the thing about the Hermetic philosophy is it tells you why that's the case. So I'll try not to ramble too much. So you have the all, right? So in the Hermetic philosophy, you have the all. It's the same thing as source, God, whatever you want to call it. Undefinable by definition, so we can't even call it the all, but Hermeticists use the all because it's the best thing we possibly can use. So there's three different things, right? Three different ways a person can create. We can construct something with our hands. We could procreate through procreation, and the third was procreation, creating with your hands. And there's only two. John will blank on the third. Is that only two?
I'm blanking on the third right now too. I think there might have been.
No, there's for sure three.
Let me Google it.
Yeah, Google it.
I can't. We're blanking, guys. This is a Mercury retrograde thing. Anything going on with the mind?
Should have had more of that throat tea.
I know, the throat chakra tea.
While she finds a third, I'll go through the first two. So we can say we use the law of correspondence, as above, so below, to see how the all operates. And so you said first we can create with tools, but we can't create with the all. Can't create with tools because there's nothing outside of the all, right? A tool is something outside of yourself, a hammer and nails. So it would be silly to say that the all is creating with tools. The second way is to say that we procreate, we make children. In other words, we divide ourselves or multiply ourselves. But it would be silly for the all to divide or multiply because then there would be multiple alls, and then calling it the all would be just silly at that point. So it doesn't create through procreation. It can't create outside of itself. Basically, is what I'm getting at. The only way that the all can create without looking outwards is by going inward. So that's why you hear that we are a thought, we are a dream. The same way Tolkien, the author of Lord of the Rings, he's capable of creating an entire fantasy realm. He's got 2 or 3 different languages within Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings. He's got races, they all have their own histories, they all have their own weapons and their own languages and their own cultures even. I think even Duolingo even offers lessons on how to speak Elvish, right? Like, this was an infinite amount of stuff can be created in the mind without having to go outside of yourself. Which is why the first law of the Hermetic philosophy is mentalism, is that the source of everything is mind, is internal. And so we have a mind just like the all, but the all has an infinite mind, right? It's an infinite conscious mind, whereas you and I can only concentrate on, like, musicians can get away with concentrating on 4 or 5 things at a time. Like, a drummer has both feet, both hands, and can sing. That's like 5 things at once. But for the most part, people can't even concentrate on one thing for very long. So that's the difference between you and the all. The first principle is all is mind. Is everything has an origin inside the mind, including the mind of the all. It's like, the only difference is, so people say we're like God. It's funny, in the Kabbalah, the line goes, when people have this understanding, they'll jump up and say, I am God, at the amusement of the sages, because the sages know that we are like the all, but we are not the all. And a good example is Hamlet and Shakespeare. So Hamlet is a creation of Shakespeare and has aspects of Shakespeare within Hamlet, but it would be silly for Hamlet to say, I am Shakespeare, because Shakespeare is Shakespeare, and it would be silly to say that is Hamlet, if that makes any sense. So that's the difference between you and the all, and that's the first. That is the first thing.
So it's kind of like the creator. You can create, the idea or perception of another character, but it's still, and your mind is the one that's creating this, but you're not that character, which is, like, quite fascinating. So that's at least what I take from it, and I find it like an incredible, like, philosophical outlook on how our mind can create. We can perceive all of these different things, but who you are. And I was actually reading, okay, I want to get into this, because I was reading this book. So
tangent, hit it.
Tangent, guys.
Slam
so it. I don't know if you guys know who Aaron Dowdy is, but, like, I was watching one of his Instagram stories and he talked about this book. So I picked it up because I'm really interested. The way that he talked about it was one of the best books that he ever read. So I was like, okay, might as well look into it. It's called Awareness by Anthony Di Mello. This book is wildly fascinating. And so he's talking about how our current construct of our personal reality is based on our conditions, our conditionings. And so essentially what he gets at is, like, your reactions to certain people is basically a condition. And sometimes, when you're reading something, when you're reading a book, for example, and you're listening to someone else's philosophical ideas, who is reacting in your mind? Because a lot of people react based on what their parents would think of something, what their friend would think of something. Sometimes we're reading a philosophy and we're like, my mom wouldn't like that. And then so you're almost reading it in the perception of how your mom would read something, because now you are almost judging something based on your own conditioning from something else. And so this philosophy that he's sort of getting at is, we haven't truly awoken to finding out who we truly are, which is a very interesting concept, because when you awaken, you start to remove the past ideas of what anyone else thinks. You start to remove those layers, and you start to observe what people say. And in that observation state, we can actually find what truth might be, instead of having a filter based on how you were raised, what is societally correct, or what your parents might think, what your teacher might think, what your friends might think of you, what the rest of the world might think of you. Like, if you walk to the grocery store wearing, a shirt that has coffee spilt on it, instead of worrying about what anyone else thinks, you start to observe and just start to realize that it doesn't define you. You know, you could be a millionaire walking in the grocery store with a coffee stain on their shirt. People will judge you, but where's that judgment coming from? They're just judging based on their past experience, or they're judging based on themselves. Anytime we judge someone, there's a philosophy, and I forgot who said it, anytime you judge someone, you judge thyself. This is wildly, wildly true if you really come down to thinking about it. Anytime that you judge someone, you say, oh, they're wearing that shirt because they're poor and they can't afford anything better. That might not be true, but you might only be perceiving that because at a time when you didn't have money, you couldn't afford a shirt that didn't have a stain on it. You know, you're only judging based on your own current perceptions and beliefs. And so what Anthony DeMello is kind of like talking about in the book Awareness is he's talking about removing your current conditionings and letting yourself just be mind and observe your mind. Observe how your mind starts to react to certain things. And in that state, that's the only state that then you can then find change to become someone new in order to be open to a new philosophy or a new idea. Because a lot of the times we're also searching so deeply for an answer to validate our current state or current experience. And so, you know, we will go online and we'll try to, you know, find all these answers to these topics. And if we hear an answer we don't like, we're like, that's not true. I don't take that. I don't like that person. And then we hear someone who has the same idea as us and we go, that's true. I like that person. They validated how I feel. But if you remove the idea of, you know, that you need validation, if you become aware enough to realize that sometimes we seek answers just out of a need for validation, you remove your own conditionings and you just stay open to what someone else is saying and be open to it. It might be false or it might be true, but be open enough. And then that's kind of like clearing this. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. We're talking about the first.
That was a good one.
Yeah, we're talking about the first thing, mentalism.
Can we skip ahead?
Yeah.
We're gonna skip because she said something awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. It might be the fourth or something like that. It's the law of polarity. So in the Hermetic philosophy, there is a law of polarity, and it says anything that exists has to have an opposite. We are defined, in other words, by our opposite. You cannot have love without hate. And furthermore, opposites are the same exact thing, but to varying degree. And a good example of that would be temperature. So 41 degrees Fahrenheit is cold, 90 degrees is hot. But the same thing, it's heat energy. It's the same exact thing. The only difference between 40 and 90 is where they exist on the spectrum. And again, 40 could be hot compared to 0 degrees. Right? Some bacteria can't even live at 40 because it's too hot. They need cold. So it's a spectrum. Anywho, what she said that I wanted to bring this up was something along the lines of not attaching to validation.
Yeah.
Not attaching to validation. So here's a life hack for you guys using the law of polarity. Again, you can't have one thing right without having its opposite. So the moment you latch on to the validation, or the moment you allow the validation to sort of get you too excited, you automatically predispose yourself to its opposite. And so you guys might see this in yourself, but the more you validate praise, in other words, the more you validate its opposite. The more distraught you are when someone says something bad on you, because you've attached to the opposite side. So as soon as the pendulum swings to the opposite side, to the negative side, you've attached yourself to the positive side, and you now go with the swing. And the thing that swing is actually the law of rhythm. So law of polarity and rhythm go hand in hand. Polarity says there are opposites. Everything has an opposite. Rhythm says life will always swing between those two opposites. So for example, you will never always get praise, and you will never always get negative comments. But the moment you latch on to the praise, you latch on to the swing of the pendulum. So you become caught up in life, whereas you were saying observe, right? Mm-hmm. So when you observe the pendulum, you're not on the pendulum. That's not to say that being on the pendulum is bad. Like sometimes being on the ride is fun as hell, you know? Like it's like a swing, you know? Like you're a kid, and you're like because it works the same exact way, right? As above. When the swing swings super high on one side, you know what's going to happen. The swing always balances. That's another part of the law of rhythm that says not only will it swing, but the swings will be matched. So you swing super high on one side, the swing is going to equal on the other side, which is why it's such a dangerous game to latch on to praise. Because let's say you do get a ton of praise for your whole life. Let's say you get a ton of praise. You're like, I'm killing it. Everybody loves me. Everything I do is amazing. Look at all these wonderful things people say about me. And then let's say shit hits the fan and the pendulum finally swings to the other side. It will match the positive swing. And if you haven't found out a way to detach from that swing, like, that's when people go into depression and, like, heaven forbid, commit suicide and, like, go into dark spirals, is because they're like, they don't know how to handle the opposite swing. Mm-hmm. So I had to skip ahead, because what she said right now about not latching on to validation is like, actually, I just did a video about this and I found a way to go around that, and it was gratitude. I was like, oh, because like when you're grateful for something, there's almost an energy of this. Not that this shouldn't be happening, but there's a damn good chance that this shouldn't be happening, right? Like, it's so much easier for things to not exist. That things do exist is just a miracle, right? So when you're grateful for something, it's like, oh damn, like I didn't expect that. You didn't have to say that. I could have been perfectly fine without it, but the fact that you did do that, like, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Like, I'm really grateful that you did that. So it's more of an observation of something that shouldn't be there anyways, you know? So you don't really attack. You can still enjoy it, because that's always been my thing. It's like, well, I want to enjoy shit. Like, I don't want to be a robot.
Exactly.
like,
but enjoying it without the attachment to it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I think.
Yes. That brings me to a perfect example that I was, again, reading in this book. And it goes along, it ties in perfectly with the pendulum kind of like philosophy, because if you attach to something, for example, he uses this perfect example that he used to be a psychologist. I believe this was the example. Don't quote me verbatim, because I'm not a record player. I can't exactly verbatim say exactly what was written in here. But basically along the lines of the fact that he's a psychologist, and so he used to have people come to him. For example, he used to have priests come to him. And of course, priests abstain from sex. And the only thing that the priest would ever come to him about is, I can't stop thinking about sex. It's because he's so far pushing it away that that's the only thing that now comes up, is because if you ever attach to something, even if you attach to the idea of not having something, you then, the opposite pendulum swings right in there. And, you know, for example, then he would have like, what's a word that I can call them that's not going to get demonetized on this channel? So super promiscuous people that do promiscuity for their jobs. Then they would only think about the fact that all I want to find is God, you know. And so it's the complete opposite of a priest. All they want to do is find God and let go of all of, you know, what they've done before. So it's, again, the opposite pendulum swing. If you say no, if you push something away, it'll come back even stronger. If you attach to something so deeply, it'll push itself away really strongly. If you've ever had a crush on somebody, for example, and you want this person so badly, you're going to notice that they keep running away from you, or for some reason they're not going to like you. If you want something so badly, it's going to run, because you're now just, your energy is like chasing it. And so that thing's now going to run from you. So it's like the same examples in here. If you remain in an observational, neutral state, a state of gratitude, you stay neutral, you can still enjoy things with gratitude, but you're not attached to them. Anytime you attach to anything outside of you, this is where disappointment sets in, because now you're leaving your happiness up to something that's out of your control. And so, for example, if somebody doesn't meet your expectations, if whatever happens, anything that's outside of you, if you put your happiness and you constitute your happiness based on if someone does something for you, or somebody praising you at work, or, you know, someone, you know, whatever. It's all the stuff that's like written in this book. Basically, you're always going to find disappointment, because now happiness is out of your control. Whereas you could make happiness in your control. You could say, I'm happy when I enjoy this, or when I feel this way. You can give yourself permission to feel something already. You can give yourself, yourself permission to feel happy every morning you wake up and you say, oh, I love seeing the bright sun. We're going to see the bright sun every morning, guys. So if you put your happiness onto something that is within your control or something that's inevitable, for example, the sun rising, maybe that's something that makes you happy. Maybe seeing the moon makes you happy as well, so you can have happiness at nighttime too. You know, don't put your happiness on anything outside of you. So that's basically the point of that. There was also, what was that other thing that we were just talking about before filming this? It was another Hermetic principle, and you had so much to say about that one.
Correspondence.
Get into that, because that one really fascinated me.
The principle of correspondence, I think, is the second principle of the Hermetic philosophy, and you guys know it by its street name: as above, so below; as below, so above. And it, I mean, you guys probably know. It basically, the macro, the heavens match the earth. So that's the philosophy side, and the physical side, like look at your hands and you see the patterns that your palms make. It matches mushroom mycelium, matches plant roots. Or if you go above the earth and you see river deltas emptying into the ocean, it's the same pattern built into all of life. And the reason for that is because, again, we all come from the same source. We all come from the original thought of the all, whatever you want to call it. And because we all come from the same thing, you cannot have an effect that doesn't have a piece of the cause in it. That's a law of cause and effect. You can't have an effect without the cause. You can't have a cause without it being an effect. That being said, with the law of correspondence, what was it? I guess it could be transmutation of the human soul, I guess, or at least a transmutation of your perception on the world is to do this. So we know that the outer world reflects the inner world and vice versa. But a fun hack that you guys can do is, you can do it with strangers. You can do it's probably better. It's more fun. I do it with strangers because I know people if they're not strangers, so I have a better idea of who they are. But find a stranger, ask them what their viewpoint of the world is. Like you're at a party, you're at a bar or something, and an example that I use is it's a dog-eat-dog world. It's like, oh, it's a dog-eat-dog world. You know, life, whatever. And so, from that person's conclusion on the world, you know their entire psyche for the most part. At least 90% of their psyche. If as long as they're not purposefully misleading you, but if they almost subconsciously, like, oh, it's a dog-eat-dog world, like, you know immediately that person sees everything as the dog-eat-dog world. Like, the way they handle their relationships, the way they handle their finances, the way they handle their future planning, like their general day-to-day state of being is based on their philosophy of the world. And it's not to say that the world is or is not what they believe it is. Or it is, or not saying that it is or it is not a dog-eat-dog world. It is because they believe it is. So they've had their circumstances, they've had their reaction to those circumstances, and they've come to the conclusion that it's a dog-eat-dog world. And now, here's the fun part with it. So you can figure out other people, which is great if you're like into manipulating people. Like, that's a cool thing about the philosophy is this, it's a spiritual philosophy, but it's not like by any means like good, you know what I mean? I describe it like the Force in Star Wars. Yoda uses the Force for things, and Darth Vader uses the Force. They both understand the mechanics of the universe to a T. That's why they're so successful in what they do. They just have different ways of expressing it. Another way that you could use the law of correspondence is to see how you function. So I don't know if you guys have ever sat down, like maybe write it in a journal or pay attention to your dreams. If you guys dream a lot, you can like, oh, this is how I operate. This is how I view the world. Because a lot of times people don't really slow down and like, because every decision you make, if you make the same decisions over and over again, or you find yourself in the same shitty situation, or you find yourself blessed over and over again, you can reverse engineer it by your philosophy of the world, and thus you can fix it. You know, you got to have a starting place for something. We do that using the law of correspondence, which is pretty useful.
Exactly. And that also taps into like resonant frequencies. We talked a bit. Definitely go check out Keith's channel, because we just recently did a video. It's not up yet,
No.
It'll be up sometime soon, but we talk a lot in there about resonant frequencies, crystals, and all that kind of cool
we
jazz.
can do that here too.
But well, we'll make you wait for the video.
Oh,
you guys
true.
can go to the video. But the one topic that I'll say about correspondence and resonant frequencies, if your outlook on the world, let's back up for a second. So, okay, so if your outlook on the world is bad or good, either way you're right. It doesn't matter what your outlook is on the world, whatever it is, it's correct. There's no incorrect way of looking at the world. It all exists. Depending on your personal outlook, whatever you choose to see, you're going to resonate with certain things. And this goes into the law of attraction. So if you are resonating with the world is a beautiful place that has a frequency to it, so you're vibrating at a certain level, anything that vibrates also at that level is going to be amplified. So, for example, Keith had this really amazing analogy about if you pluck a guitar string and it's tuned to an E, and you have a guitar sitting right next to you and its string is also tuned to an E, that same string is going to start to vibrate as if it was being plucked itself because of the fact that it resonates. And so basically any frequency that you emit, any frequency that you are, the thoughts that you think have their own frequencies, you're going to attract any resonates with that into your life experience. And so if you see the world as a dog-eat-dog world, you're gonna begin to resonate, and anything on this planet that resonates with a dog-eat-dog world is going to come up and resonate, and now those will be amplified in your perception. It all exists around you, but those will now be amplified in your perception. If you perceive the world as this beautiful place full of love, full of amazing things, if you truly resonate with that and that's the frequency you emit, all of a sudden that is going to come up and that will be the amplified frequency. Therefore, your perception of the world is going to be a huge amplitude of love and abundance and all those different types of things. It depends on your thoughts and what you resonate with. So this is how the law of attraction works. This is how manifestation works.
It's magic.
It's magic. And it all exists. It's all encompassing. Our world is a 360-degree world encompassing all the frequencies of any potential. Quantum physics, any potential exists. It depends now as the observer what you choose to observe, and then all of a sudden the particles will come together and start forming to that resonance of whatever you perceive the world to be. If you perceive yourself in a certain way, you're going to have all those different things resonate. I talk about that recently in my chakra video. If you think certain thoughts, different organs in your body will resonate with certain thoughts or begin to change based on certain thoughts that you have. And this is why we get chakra imbalances and stuff like that, is because it's resonating at a different level. And you then get dis-ease in the body. And some of you guys, the only reason why I pronounce dis-ease as dis-ease is because disease, it just sounds as disease. But dis-ease, it means you're not at ease. And so that's why I pronounce it as dis-ease. Anyway,
helpful.
Just clarifying that for some of you guys.
It's definitely helpful.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Is there anywhere where you want to take that?
There was, but it's gone now.
It's gone now.
I know.
Don't you love that when we drop blanks? It's Mercury retrograde. We decided to film this during Mercury retrograde, and so like the mind right now,
It's doing
things
interesting
are being
things.
lost in every single direction. It's just crazy. Do you guys have any questions for us? Maybe we can hop into some questions and stuff.
Someone asked what the book was. That's the Kabbalion.
Kabbalion.
I saw that a while ago. Unless one of you guys answered the question.
And there's also this one too. We talked about 2 books.
Oh,
so
yeah.
This one is by the 3 Initiates. It's the Kabbalion Hermetic Philosophy. Definitely go check that out. There's lots of audiobooks on it too.
I got one actually.
Do you have one on the? Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And then also the Emerald Tablets.
Yeah, I have some audiobooks on my channel. I have a handful of really cool audiobooks on my channel you guys should check out.
Definitely go check out his channel if you guys want to listen to some free audiobooks instead of paying to listen to audiobooks. So yeah, then this one is called Awareness by Anthony something. If you type in Awareness Anthony, I'm sure it'll come up. DeMello. Anthony DeMello. Pretty easy name. Yeah, so those are the 2 books that we talked about. Yeah, what are some questions you guys have? Let's see if I can actually scroll on here. It'd be easier to go on the phone and scroll. So
Advice on finding your purpose. Sounds like a pretty good
Oh, yeah.
It's a cheese roll. I have you guys answer. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Give it to us. Finding your purpose. Okay, so again, resonant frequencies.
Yeah.
If you look at yourself and know that you have purpose and you feel like you have purpose, you're going to resonate with everything that matches your purpose. So it's kind of like a little hack. If you feel purposeful and you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm going to put on my slippers with purpose. And then you go to take a shower and you're like, I'm going to take the shower with purpose because I have purpose. And you go to whatever job that you currently have, or if you're currently in school, if you go there being like, I have purpose here. If you feel purpose, you will attract more things to you that make you feel purpose. And so if you want to find your purpose, the hack is feeling purpose currently, even if you do not like going to school, even if you don't like your current job. If you feel purposeful doing that, you're going to bring up more things in life that make you feel purpose. If you keep looking at life as if like, oh, my current job has no purpose, I have no purpose, I don't love what I do, I'm not fulfilling my purpose. If you're looking at that, you're going to continue resonating and bringing up things in your life that continue to make you feel that way. And so the hack, go make your food with purpose. If you're making some toast in the morning, put it in the toaster with purpose. So feel purpose in everything, and you'll bring up more purpose. Do you have something you want to add on that?
Yeah, she reminded me of Alan Watts, and he says, the idea isn't to find God in peeling the potato, it's to peel the potato. It's almost like we get too carried away, and instead of just being in the moment and experiencing the miracle of life that it is. We said earlier, imagine how much goes into existence and how DNA works and the evolution of things, period. It'd be so much easier for things to just not exist. So like every moment is magical. And as far as me finding my purpose, do you feel like you found your purpose?
Yeah. I feel like it's an evolutionary process.
It
though.
is. Yeah, that's...
I think it's interchanging, always changing, yeah.
Exactly right. It's exactly the direction I wanted to go with that.
Perfect.
Is that I listen to a lot of old people talk, and for the most part, the consensus is your purpose is going to change constantly, and it's important. What she said, it's more important to just what she says, create your purpose, basically. Because you guys asked, how do I find my purpose, and her answer was create it. Like, stop searching and become the purpose.
Yeah, become purpose.
Which is perfect because I don't know, man, like going through my 20s was crazy. Like, should I do this and should I do that, and I like this, and the problem, again, like we talked about earlier with attaching to finding your purpose, like, oh, I want to, like, if that is your biggest question, let's say you do find your purpose. Imagine how excited you're going to be at finding your purpose if you've been seeking for it, say 10 plus years. And then come to find out that in fact wasn't your purpose. You're like, oh, I thought I found the answer to my life, and I like based my whole existence on it, and now I realize it's actually not my purpose, and you're just back on the swing of the pendulum to the opposite side. It's like, first and foremost, create your purpose so that you don't have to worry about, finding, seeking, losing, finding, losing, finding, losing. Just experience things, you know what I mean? You daydream about things. Every day you're thinking about something. Like, take one of those avenues. You get called to walk to the beach, and it makes no sense to take a walk on the beach. You have to send out emails. You have to do this. You have to do that. But for some God-known reason, you got to go to the beach and fucking walk on the beach. I wrote about that in my book because while I was writing my book, I had that urge to go to the beach. It's like, no, I told myself I would write 1,000 words before anything, but I could not write for the life of me. So I took the walk on the beach, had an epiphany, wrote the entire chapter that night. So it's like, yeah, create your path for yourself so you have a framework, right? But you don't have to always stick to it. You don't have to be so caught up on like it being exactly how we want it. Especially with something as fickle as a purpose, because I like talk about plants just as stoked as I talk about philosophy, just as excited as I get about baseball, and just as excited as I get about like cool rocks that I see, you know what I mean? We can have multiple passions, and we can have multiple curiosities and like multiple purposes, there's an infinite amount of possibilities, and like the whole thing with learning how the structure of the universe works, like from something like the Hermetic philosophy, is that you can build it. Like you can build your purpose. You know, I mean, you can take the natural world and look at the laws of the natural world and apply it to yourself, so that you can be stoked on peeling the potatoes instead of like wanting to change the world. Like, I'll only be happy if I change the world, but if I peel potatoes, then I'm going to be miserable. You know, it's
that's again placing your happiness on something outside of yourself. Whereas instead, if you just embody the feeling of like, I am purpose, and then you do everything with purpose.
T-shirt.
Embody anything that you're wanting to create. Embody that before you even see a reflection of it in your reality. Because the truth is, you will never perceive something of which you do not already have internally. You'll never see it outside of you. It's only because you have it internally and you've already reflected on it internally that you can perceive of it outside of you. So if you're wanting to create more of a reality full of love, or more of a reality full of purpose, the key is to become it. If you become that, if you become love, you're going to attract it so much, because now you're the frequency of love. Therefore, now you're going to resonate with everything else that is the frequency of love, and those will pop up and amplify in your life. If you become purpose, it doesn't matter. The universe doesn't care if you're making toast with purpose, or if you're making the most wildest, profound, crazy new scientific thing that provides so much purpose. The universe does not look at like energy is energy. Like you can make toast with purpose, and it has. The universe sees that just as big, just the same as in The Secret, they use the example of manifesting a button or a castle. It's the same amount of energy to manifest a button that it is to manifest a castle. The universe sees no difference in that. The universe isn't like, this has a bigger price tag than this. The universe doesn't look at that. It's all just you aligning to certain things, and it's all just an experience. One is not better than the other. There's no certain thing that you can manifest that's better than this thing. There's no ultimate thing. There is no ultimate thing. That's up to you to define. And if you define something as more ultimate, which you shouldn't do, because that's also another manifestation thing, is if you see something as so big, of course you're not resonating with it, because that means it's bigger than you. It means you're not aligned to it. It's not gonna.
That's like my Achilles heel.
Right?
What she just said is, I still struggle with that.
I mean, we all do.
It's such a huge feat. Like, how can I? No, it's crazy.
I can't fathom that happening to me. In that process, though, you're saying, universe, I don't currently have that, and I'm not worthy of that. So the key is to feel worthy of it, to embody all the feelings of like the aftermath. Think about the big picture that you're wanting to manifest. What is the aftermath feeling? And what are the aftermath actions that you'd be taking? Embody that right now. Take those actions right now and watch how your reality begins to shift in order to create that for you.
That's why peeling the potato with excitement is so important, because when we talked about resonance a second ago, you know, you vibe. So the definition of, I wish we had like a Jamie on the channel. The definition of resonance is something like the synchronous vibrations of two neighboring objects. So synchronous means matching, and vibrations means the vibration. So you have the two strings, they match the frequency, and they vibrate each other because they match it. So what I tell myself is to imagine manifestation as more like an invocation or evocation of life. So things exist simultaneously at all times. So you can be in the city that you live in, and there's a million good things and there's a million bad things, but when you stimulate your reality, you evoke the things to come up. They've always been there. It's not like the universe throws something that wasn't there before. It's like, oh, I'm going to talk to that person for some reason, or that book that I read before stimulated my mind. Like I was just telling you the video I watched a video of hers about consciousness traveling through the solar system. First time I watched it was like, this was dope, and the second time I watched it, same words sparked a whole epiphany in my mind. It's because it's the same in information that was there before. So when you're stoked on peeling the potato, you're vibrating like this energy of, I'm happy to be alive, I'm grateful to be doing what I'm doing, I'm aware of my surroundings. I'm aware of everything so that I can experience it to the fullest, because that's all that the all wants. Like, if I may be so bold as to say the all wants anything, right? If I may be so humble in saying what the purpose is experience. Number one, first and foremost, God, source, whatever, went inwards to have this. We are the stars looking upon itself. I think Carl Sagan said that. We are a way for the stars to look back at themselves so they can experience life in an infinite amount of different possibilities. Like that's all the ego is. The ego is just, like I talk about this a lot on my channel, where people come in hot on the ego. And it's, as they should, because the ego gone to the dark side is chaos. But all the ego is just a lens, right? Like you're looking at us through a camera lens, but we could easily switch the lens to a wide angle lens, or to a telelens, or to a telescope. And it's all source looking, experiencing through a different lens, and that lens is the ego. Like right now it's looking out of me as Keith, and like but on the other side it's looking out through Jem. So like here's a veil that could come out. You have the light on one side, and you have coming through the veil, like here's a tree, here's a rock, and over here it's me, and over here it's a house, you know? And this is a theory of mine, but I think the more we can be involved in an experience, the more exciting life becomes for both you and for, I guess you could call it, the creator. Because if you're, like, imagine if you've never seen a potato before and you've lived for an infinite amount of time. You're like, holy shit, these humans came up with something called a potato. It's this little thing that grows in the ground and they're peeling it? Like, what the hell is a fucking peeler? Like, how did they come up with a peeler? Like, it's just beyond me, like, the crazy things. It's mundane to us, but, like, when you really think about existence, it's wild, the shit that we come up with. But we're so focused on, like, the biggest, like, as we should be. Like, I don't mean to, like, downplay the extravagant things of life, but there's so much other, and to be able to be stoked on the potato, on life in general, is to broadcast a signal that give me more things to be excited about. Give me everything. Like the universe says, oh, you were stoked on the potato? Like, bro, have you ever been to Paris? Like, just wait, man, I'm sending you to Paris next. Like, if you can appreciate life, it will appreciate you back. You know? I mean, it's like a relationship. I think that tangent is over.
No, I loved that. No, that was freaking brilliant. Woo! There's some fire knowledge in this live. I'm really liking this live.
Me too.
There was like,
I love talking about this.
There was a thing that I was going to say. I completely forgot what it was. Again, Mercury retrograde. But maybe we'll get another question that offers another tangent. So bring in some questions, guys, if you have questions, and then we'll see what we get here.
And the screen seems to be killing it too, actually. Oh man, maybe not. That's what we look like to them, I think. Or is it?
Let's see.
No, it's actually not bad.
How do I get it to play at the current moment?
Just all the way. It's all the way that's
How do we make our change in frequency permanent? That's a good question.
You can't. There's no such thing as permanence.
There really isn't. There really isn't. It's always ever changing, and so nor would you want to have a permanent frequency, because if you do get to the perceived highest frequency, there's always more. There's no mastery of everything, and so. But if you're asking more along the lines of how do you stay at like a good high vibe, for the most part, doing things and always acting on your passion. So even in the most smallest things, like I always use the example of like, what is the best way to take a shower? Personally, I love putting on some really beautiful like flute music in the background, like some really beautiful mystical kind of like foresty sounding stuff.
It's all about the shower soundtrack.
It's all about the shower.
Get a good shower playlist.
Get a good mood.
Know?
I light some candles. I put lavender essential oils and I like drop it onto the walls of my shower so that the steam can like have some lavender scent while I'm in there, and I pretend I'm a fairy. I go way deep into my imagination where I'm just like, I'm manifesting this perfect life. I use it as a meditation ritual almost. You know, what's the best way you can do anything? When you're getting up in the morning making coffee, what's the best way to make that coffee? What's your favorite coffee to make? And feel those good feelings. So if you want to stay in a high vibe, everything that you do, if you're driving to work and you have to drive in traffic, stop looking at that as a bad experience. Instead be like, wait, I can use this time to listen to a really cool audiobook.
Yeah.
Or you could jam out to your favorite music. You can use your time wisely to do everything in a passionate way. There's always options to make each moment that much better. And as you constantly do that, you'll constantly get into a higher vibe and higher vibe state, because even when you think you've reached the end goal and you've maxed out on that high vibe frequency, you could always take it up a notch higher. You could always make that coffee that much better. You can always make that shower experience that much better. So you don't necessarily want permanence. You always want to just, always do things with a passionate way. How can I be passionate? Right when that thing starts to get mundane, how can you make it that much more passionate, and constantly add more passion into your life, add more love into your life? That's what I personally do. What about you?
That's it.
Yeah.
See, your circumstances, the external world does influence you guys. Like, don't think that you just, freaking the Dalai Lama Super Saiyan 2 or something like that. What you surround yourself with is going to influence you. So like that shower experience with candles and fairy dancing is like, that's probably 1,000 times better than your average shower. Or most people are pissed when they go. I drive a lot for work, so I do vocal exercises. Like, I love driving out. Like, I drive 30. It's not that much. I imagine LA is like, God, I don't even know.
You drove like a while to get here.
To get here, I love driving. I love movement, generally speaking. So I was like singing songs. I was doing vocal lessons in the car. I was like watching her videos. Like, what the hell are we gonna talk about? It's all like, I was in traffic. To be fair, I was pissed when I hit traffic because I had to go to the bathroom. And I definitely was not high vibe. And I rode that low vibe for a good 2 miles, aka 20 minutes in LA.
In LA traffic.
But it is what it is. You know what I mean? So she said it perfectly. You got to set up your surroundings. Your home specifically should be like, man, it should be on like the moment you walk. I know my bedroom. I share my home. I rent a room, so it's like my house smells one way, but you open my door, and I work with plants a lot, so it just reeks of like frankincense and copal and like, God, rosemary.
I wouldn't call that reeks. I would say that's a.
Well, sometimes it's like, it's
beautiful,
but it's almost like pungent. Sometimes it's like, whoa, air out there, which is dope. Like, I'd rather it be that than other things. But like, I know, I walk into a room like, oh, I'm home. Like, I'm home. Everything. I lay in my bed and I have my playlist set up. Like, it's just keeping the high vibe is cultivating that internally and externally. Like, it's really important to externally like set that shit up.
Exactly. We say, should we do another question?
Yeah. Vocal lessons. Where I go on YouTube and I just look up like tenor vocal exercise. And I play a lot of music too. So, and I drive, so I do vocal lessons in the car. I don't give them. I watch YouTube videos.
That's really fun.
It's super fun.
Oh my
it's
God.
actually, yeah.
That's
Even
awesome.
if you guys don't sing, like, go hop on some vocal lessons, and for the hell of it, just start singing in your car or vocal lessons. It's fun too, because then you start singing songs after a couple months, and you sing your favorite songs even better. And you're just like, nailed it.
Exactly. Have a little concert. I was definitely having a concert with myself yesterday, and actually yesterday when I was driving, because I drove all the way to Laguna, and I had to go to the bathroom so bad when I was driving. And what I ended up doing in order to stay in a high vibe state is, I was like, basically I had watched this video where Sadhguru, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he was talking about how in meditation, like, or even in real life, like, you're not your body. Your body is a vessel, but you're not your body. And so sometimes yogis will go in these deep meditations that last days sometimes. And they're, of course, they're not needing to go to the bathroom. They're not needing to go drink some water. They're not needing to eat because you're in a meditation. You're not doing those things. But your body is at such a low operating state that you don't need to go to the bathroom. It's such a slow operating rate that you don't need to eat. You don't get hungry yet. When you wake up from the meditation, I'm sure, your body starts to function normally again, and you start to get all these, human desires and human needs that we would need in a regular waking state. But so when I was driving and I needed to go to the bathroom really bad, I was like, okay, I'm not my body. I'm gonna try to, be in a deep meditative state while still being aware enough about, of course, I was driving, and so I need to be really aware and not in a meditation exactly, but to be enough removed from my body that I wouldn't necessarily feel the crazy urge that I had, because I was stuck in some crazy traffic and it was going to take me 40 minutes to get to the nearest Starbucks to go to the bathroom. And yeah, definitely waited 40 minutes there just being like,
just zen out.
Yeah, and just like really practicing like, don't let this feeling control you. You are not your body. And it was just a fun experience. And I mean, like, it worked. It definitely helped.
I was just saying, did it work?
It definitely helped. I wouldn't say I mastered it to the point where it worked, but it absolutely added enough relief to where it wasn't completely ruining my time. I mean, by the end of it though, right when I finally got to that Starbucks, I was like, you know,
out of the way.
Everyone out of the way. Stop. Yes, stop what you're all doing. I need the bathrooms. If anyone's in there, come out immediately. Like, thank God there wasn't anyone in there. I went in there, just ran straight in there. It was totally fine. So yeah, let's see. Can your eyes actually see that? Because my eyes are not good enough to see any of those words.
Really?
Not at all. I can't read anything that's on there. I definitely need my phone to read any of the things.
I got my eyes dilated at the doctor the other day. For the first time I've ever had them dilated, and I have a whole new appreciation for my sight. I couldn't read something like this for 3 hours. I was terrified. I thought it would never go away.
Oh my god!
Oh man, it was brutal.
How do they dilate your eyes?
They put a drop and it like relaxes the retina, so it just opens basically, like turns black.
Wild experience.
Yeah, I know, it was pretty trippy. I didn't like it. I was like low key getting anxiety and shit.
Oh my gosh, what would happen if you saw really bright light at that point?
It was awful. I couldn't even with glasses. I couldn't go out even with glasses. It was still too bright. Like my eyes closed. My eyes were still hurting. That's
I would put on a blindfold and I'd be like, everyone just guide me where I'm going.
Yeah, do you want me to read them from here? We can both read them.
Yeah. Conjunction means in a birth chart. That just means two planets are very, very close to each other.
That was exactly
usually
what
within.
I looked at the screen. That's really funny.
Oh really?
I was like reading it as you're reading it out loud.
Synchronization.
What up?
So yeah, it just means two planets are at least within 10 degrees of each other. If they're a transcendental planet, they usually need to be like sometimes within 5 degrees or less, sometimes even within 2 degrees. For example, like Pluto, it's such a far out planet that moves so slowly, and so if it's in 10 degrees, it's really not technically a conjunction if you're dealing with a planet like Pluto, at least in the way that I personally read astrology. So Pluto really only conjuncts planets within 2 degrees. Things like Saturn maybe conjunct a planet maybe within 5 to 7. Things like Mercury within 10 degrees, that's a conjunction. So as long as they're like really close, that would be what a conjunction is. And that's how I personally read astrology. There's some astrologers that count Pluto as a conjunction within 10 degrees, of course. Just me personally, when I read astrology, I personally do not.
What does conjunction even mean?
That two planets are touching. It's different
like
per planet that you're dealing with.
Oh.
Yeah, but it basically kind of amplifies that energy. If they're really close, that's a really close interaction between those planets. Then there's things like trines, oppositions, sextiles, squares, and those are all interactions between planets. And then there's, you can get into the crazy ones like quincunxes and stuff like that.
Quincunx?
It's quincunx.
I know, it sounds...
Yeah, which, those ones are pretty fun. But, yeah, so they all have different interactions. And so basically it just means a certain interaction between the planets. But a conjunction is when they're, like, really close. And it basically just kind of, like, it's a really direct interaction between those planets. So, yeah. But it means different things. It depends on the planets that are interacting. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Astro Master.
Ooh.
There's gotta be somebody on YouTube that goes by Astro Master.
Oh, I'm sure. Right?
There's not. I'm about to start it. You don't know anything about Astro.
Just icy. Wait, what?
I don't know. It's hard to follow.
Oh! This person's replying to a person. That's really funny advice. Oh my gosh, I got what that is.
Favorite crystals, tips on getting through.
Do you have a favorite crystal?
I don't.
Oh.
I don't. That's what I mean. I honestly have not given crystals a proper dose of my attention until you popped up on Instagram. I was like, oh, perfect, because I like consciously made the decision. Okay, Keith, it's time.
Time to learn about crystals.
It's time. The crystals have just been appearing to me. So I need to figure out what the hell's going on.
Well,
I need to find my spirit crystal. How do we find out our crystal?
How do you find out your crystal?
Yeah.
Well, I have a bunch that you can look at and just pick which one you're the most drawn to, I guess.
Aren't I not supposed to touch other people's? I touched hella crystals of yours earlier.
Oh,
Isn't it
yeah,
bad
no.
form to touch?
Well, I just stage them after. It's fine.
It's like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry you had to do it. Oh my god.
What happened?
Yeah, no, that's that's totally fine. I have a bunch under the table. Maybe I'll grab them. Maybe we'll have a little crystal chat.
Oh, you are the gym goddess.
We did have a crystal chat in your videos. We should definitely wait.
Oh, that's right.
On that. Definitely check out his video because we have a crystal chat there. I'll talk about my favorite crystal though, because my favorite is. It always changes. I always have new favorites. At the moment, it's ocean jasper. I'm so drawn to it. I just really like the energy of the ocean, and since I don't live close to it anymore, I love having me some ocean jasper. I have a huge slab of it, like right here, just chilling on my table. Yeah, and ocean jasper, it comes in all different colors. This one over here is like a beige, white, and green kind of thing going on over here. This one's amazing. Still the crystal one. But they come in all sorts of different forms, and they have like look at the cool like crystals that are in there.
Oh, wow, it's like a geode almost.
So they have like little geode kind of like parts in them. It's like really beautiful. It depends on the type of quality of ocean jasper that you get, but yeah, ocean jasper is like gnarly beautiful. It just carries the energy of the ocean. How they mine for it, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's multiple spots in the world, but a really fascinating thing about ocean jasper is it's really hard to get because you have to wait until the tide comes down far enough to go in these kind of like, I believe that they're like underground caves where they mine for ocean jasper only when the tide is low enough. Yeah, and you have to get out of there really quick because of course, you know, the tide comes back eventually, so you only have like, I think like a couple hours to mine for it. Basically go get it, and it has a huge energy of the ocean since it's mostly under the ocean. So, really cool facts about ocean jasper.
Some people are talking about dreams and plant medicine.
Oh, that's a topic I feel like you can
I happen to be the dream master, you guys.
I
happen to be the dream master.
We are going to go into dreams then because I want to know what you have to say about dreams. I get asked this question all the time on my channel, but I haven't studied enough.
A lot?
Yeah.
Oh,
mostly
nice.
lucid as well, which is crazy, yeah.
And she might be more a dream master than I am.
Well, I don't think I'm a dream master. I don't know too much about it, but like I feel like just over half of my dreams are lucid.
What?
Yeah.
Like complete lucidity?
Where I wake up in the dream.
Partial or
I can control it for the most part, most of the time.
It
really depends, but I will wake up in the dreams being like, oh, I'm dreaming. But I only notice this happens during certain states of my life. Like there's random months that I'll go without having any lucidity, and then months that'll just be like pure lucid dreams.
Wow.
Like it's crazy. But lately I'm in one of those stages where it's like mostly lucid again.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so here's maybe you can try this for me because I don't lucid dream enough to be able to do it. I learned a really cool lucid dreaming technique to last longer in lucid dreaming. I don't know if you ever played 007 when you were a kid?
Mm-hmm.
There's
like the one for the N64? Yeah.
I don't know why this came to me. So in the dream, lucid dreaming, you do what you want, right? But the thing about dreams is like, even with me, I don't know how yours work, but with my lucid dreams, since I'm conscious in the dream, I like bring the real world laws of physics to the dream unnecessarily. So like I can only fly in dreams if I have wings, for example, because my mind can wrap my head around that. But anywho, I figured out how to last longer lucid dreams, and what I did was the dream vibrates, right? So if you guys lucid dream and you're about to lose lucidity because the dream vibrates. Well, in this video game I used to play called 007, you would throw these mines on the walls, and when people walked by them, they would blow up. So in the dream, I was like, I was using dream stabilizer mines. So I had instead of the mines blowing up in the dream, I was like, oh, these are going to be dream stabilizers. So the dream was vibrating like, fuck, I was losing lucidity. And like, I swear, just like the video game, like I'm hucking these little discs out, and they hit the wall. So I put on all four corners of the dream, I put these stabilizer mines, is what I call them, and the dream solidified. You know, some people say you can spin in circles, or you can rub your hands together. Or there's like different techniques to make sure you remain lucid. But when it comes to the dreams, you guys, whatever makes sense to you in your head, use that for the dreams, because I could have easily just imagined the dream to be stable, but like I can't make that connection without, because my conscious mind was getting in the way. But I could make the connection of, oh, I'll just put these devices on the wall and like those will do it for me, and like it's just a dream hack. And I've been trying to do that with lucid dreams, and maybe you could try something. Is when you're talking to people in lucid dreams, not always, but sometimes, usually it's different aspects of yourself. And what I've been wanting to do, what I haven't done yet, is to fix things that are wrong with me from the inside. So it's almost like your body's the hardware and your subconscious mind is the software. So I've been wanting to go into the software lucidly in the dream and fix it, hoping that it would fix my waking life.
I've heard some stuff about that.
Really?
That you can do deep healing in dreams.
That would be amazing.
And I've even heard that even in non-lucid dreams, you're technically doing certain healing as well. You just reminded me of a thing, of releasing certain energy. Because there's times, oh yeah, I can fly. And then that's when I'll wake up and realize, oh yeah, I'm dreaming. Of course, the only reason why I think I can fly right now is because I just realized I'm dreaming.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then I'll always be like, oh, I can fly. And then I'll just like go around. And most of my lucid dreaming is just literally me flying around and enjoying myself. And that's pretty much all I ever do, because I just really enjoy flying.
I know, I feel like that. My first and probably most favorite lucid dream to date. You want to hear?
I am so down to hear it.
Sue was super cool. It was amazing. I'm pretty sure I was visited by demons, so I had lots of nightmares. I probably have equal amount of nightmares as I do regular dreams, and it's always been that way. So part of my nightmares, like, who do I talk to the camera? Did I talk to you? I want to talk to you. The camera. Part of my nightmares is I know I'm dreaming, but I can't wake up. I'm trapped. It's like Freddy Krueger was like my nemesis growing up. Like, I was afraid of being trapped in dreams. So that's always how my nightmares work. I'm trapped and I can't wake up. And I was like, oh, the whole point of lucid dreaming is to figure out that you're dreaming so you can become lucid. So I was like, I'll just use my nightmares as a way to become lucid. And that same night, I was in a big ass mansion and I was being chased by Tasmanian devil creatures. Like they from the waist down, there were little tornadoes and they were like chasing me through this house. It was crazy. And I was like running down this hallway. I'm like, ah. And so I'm like, oh, that's right, I'm having a nightmare. Like, don't wake up, just go lucid. So I'm like watching myself third person, and I slam into myself first person. I can feel the rug under my toes, and I can see like the designs in the carpet and stuff. And so I'm lucid dreaming. I walk out the front door, and it's beautiful, like emerald green trees, and the sky is super blue. And I remember like Roman cobblestone walkway. I could feel the cobblestone under my feet. And there was a pack. Let me know if you know what's going on with this. There was a pack of, they look like Avatar. Remember Avatar?
Yeah.
So I know. Favorite. Anywho, they look like the Avatar people, but instead of being blue, they were like a light purple pink, and they looked like Amazonian women, fiery red hair. They were like 9 foot plus, and they were wearing tribal gear, like spears and things like that. And I walk up to him, and the head chiefess is glaring at me, and she's like 12 feet. She's like a whole head taller than the rest of them. And I go up to the closest. They're these creatures were the ones. I was like, what happened, you guys? You were chasing me a second ago, and now you're not chasing me. Like, what happened? And she looks down at me because she towers over me, and she said, if you only knew what you were capable of, you would devour us, is what she said. And I was like, it was just too much. I was like, what? Literally in the dream, I was like, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. I was like, I'm lucid dreaming, I'm gonna fly. So I just left them and started flying over the house. And of course I got super excited and woke up. But like, pretty sure maybe my nightmares, I'm being attacked by some crazy, evil Avatar planet people.
Wow.
Yeah.
But then they tell you that.
But they told me that, yeah. Because they were pissed, like they were angry that I became lucid, and they were all. Yeah, only the chiefess was glaring at me, and the one that I talked to looked at me. She was like hella pissed. Like, if you only knew what you were capable of, you would devour us. And I was like, whoa. Now it sounds super crazy, but at the
now
time...
we're getting excited over here. That sounds exciting.
I know. I haven't gotten back, but my as much practice as I dream 3 or 4 dreams every night, but I don't lucid. I lucid maybe once a month, if that.
That's still quite often, though.
But it's not full lucidity. It's like me trying to as soon as I go lucid, like when I go lucid, I have to tell myself, I pretend that I'm not lucid, because I get excited if I do. So I'll go lucid, right, lucid, like, yeah, I'm lucid, but I don't move quick, I don't make any sudden movements, I don't fly, like scope out and talk to people and try to remain calm, because as soon as I get excited, the dream rattles and then I wake up.
My mom told me this thing when I was really young, and this is how I became really, this is how like I started lucid dreaming often, because she told me that lucid dreaming has a correlation to, and I forgot what book she read this from, but she's like super spiritual, reads a lot of books, and so she read something about how lucid dreaming, you'll only ever have that when you really are aware of your life and you're really living in the moment. Because a lot of the times in life we're like on autopilot. When you're in autopilot, your dreams are on autopilot. You can't control them. But then if you kind of like wake up in your life and you become very conscious in the moment, all of a sudden if you're so conscious in the moment, all of a sudden when you start dreaming, you're conscious in the moment. You know that you fell asleep. You're not on autopilot. You're right there. And so if you guys want to start lucid dreaming, that's how I started lucid dreaming, is knowing that like when I was a kid, and then I used to be like, okay, I need to be like aware. I need to be aware, but don't be hyper aware like in your reality, because then when you're too hyper aware, then you start to get anxiety, all these things. You're like, oh my God, there's so much going on. But just be present. There's like a presence there that's like this wholeness, but yet it's calm, but you're aware and you're conscious, in your awake state, and it reflects exactly. And then as within, so without, and then so if you are within very aware, when you go into that dream state, you're very aware, and then you're aware that you're dreaming, and it's quite powerful. It's powerful things.
No, I gotta get back to those crazy Amazonian women though. I want to get back so bad. She's seen her. She was like, they were impressive. There was a tribe of really impressive, like 9-foot tall Amazonian looking gangster ass women.
Oh my God, they sound cool. I want to meet them.
It was like, no, it was cool. It was like, that's why when I walked out there, I wasn't afraid or anything. I was just like, yo, you guys are it's like, hey guys, it's me. Like, that's my energy. I was like, what's up? What's going on? Like, you were chasing me a second ago. Like, what's going on? Like, why'd you stop? What happened?
Exactly. All of a sudden, if you have this sort of, that brings me to a really interesting thought. And maybe we'll end on this thought, because we've definitely been live for like an hour. Yeah, just over an hour. So, and if you have any more thoughts after this, definitely add them in. But this thought is the way that you hold yourself in reality has a direct correlation to how your reality reacts with you. For example, there's lots of examples, like if you are, in a forest and something is chasing you or about to attack you, there's lots of examples of how there's certain people that just, come face to face with a lion that's about to just like, and they just stand there like with confidence. If you stand there with confidence, and I mean, I'm sure this doesn't work all the time, so don't go out trying something like this, but there is lots of examples of this, and I'm sure that there's some times where this has no effect whatsoever. But for the most part, there's a guy standing there with just ultra confidence, and they don't even care that this crazy animal's charging them. And then that animal all of a sudden sees this, and they're realizing that what they're doing, their actions aren't scaring you, then they get scared of that, because they're like, why aren't you scared? Clearly that says like you're bigger than I am, you're tougher than I am, even if you're not. It just says that, and the energy of that would scare a lot of things. And so it's not like a scare tactic. You're not supposed to go into reality, wanting to be better or bigger than anyone else, but there's just lots of examples of like the way that you hold yourself, reality will reflect back to you. And so if you hold yourself at a very, confident state, then you're not going to run into, people like, or, there's still going to be things around you wanting to, influence your energy or whatever, but as long as you stay really strong in who you are. I forgot the point where I was going with this already, but like,
that was perfect. But the point I was getting was prey runs.
Yeah.
That's how they describe with the animals. Like, you don't run from the predator. Like, oh, this thing's not running. Like, I don't know what to do.
Clearly, it's not something I should be eating.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's what they say. Like, the animals are just like, oh, I guess this isn't something I eat.
It's like, clearly this thing doesn't mind challenging me, and I don't really want to have a challenge. I thought I was just gonna go
I like that.
Yeah. So, you know, it's how you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone who's confident, as someone who, you know, your reality will react to you in that way. And if you're scared of a bunch of things, or if you have so many fears, people see that. They see that energy off of you, and it depends what dynamic you want to play. If you want to play the dynamic of somebody who's constantly running away from certain things, that's a certain dynamic. Or you could play the dynamic of someone who's confident, stands there, empowers other people. Because then there's also people that, you know, love to stand there and just be like way better than. That's not a good place to be at either. But if you're at the place of just confidence, wanting to empower other people to be confident, that's a really good state to be in. You know, like the happiness, the joy, but yet the confidence and the knowing and like the sureness. And yeah, that's where I wanted to go with that. So that's another thing I wanted to add in there for you guys, because it's something that I was recently looking at. Thought it was a cool little gem of information.
Gem, haha, get
little
it.
gem of information.
Gem.
Little gem of information. Oh my gosh. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, that's. We're gonna end on that gem.
We're gonna end on that.
On that comma gem. Really cool. Yeah. Ooh. No, I do want to end it on something.
Okay.
Oh, it was much more eloquently said in my head a second ago. I lost it, but it's something along the lines of everything that we talked about today, for the most part, with hermetics. We can't change the rules, but we can change our role. And so what we're trying to get across is we want to be the players of the chess game and not the chess pieces, because you, unfortunately or fortunately, you will abide by the rules of nature. Like, you're not going to get rid of polarity, you're not going to get rid of mental creation, you're not going to get rid of the law of gender that we didn't even talk about. You can't, vibration, you're not going to get rid of these things. So you either use them or you're used by them. It sucks to be used by things, especially when the other person is manipulative and knows these things very well. You know what I mean? Like, you can use these things for good or bad. So let's do some more good with them.
Exactly.
That's it.
I completely agree with that.
Yep. Over and out.
Yeah, there's lots of principles we didn't touch on.
I know.
But we got pretty deep into the ones that we did, and they went on to their own life tangents there, which was fun. So
Yeah. That was awesome.
Love you guys a lot. Thank you for joining us over here. This will definitely be up on my channel, so if you guys missed the beginning of it or whatever, anything like that, you can definitely go check it out. And definitely go check out Keith's channel. It is Man of Letters. I'll have that somewhere in the comment section down below after this video is done processing on YouTube. And you guys can go check it out there. So thank you guys for joining us. I love you guys.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.